Hey everybody, got a lot of requests about a guide to Vermintide, so I got a leading member of the community to help me out with that. Lunathex, I think we are talking about Honest Steel today.
Is that one of his lines? Because I don't play him
well,
that often.
no, that's one of the values of the Empire. They continue to endure because of the honest steel of the fighting men.
Well, the one-handed sword is Honest Steel, except it's such a weird weapon because it's a crowd control weapon versus an actual striking weapon.
Yeah, both of the one-handed weapons were buffed for Kruber in the last patch, but they weren't buffed in a way that made it a true striking weapon. So yeah, it still ends up being this like weird hybrid, and it's competing against some of the best crowd control weapons in the game, which Kruber also has.
Well, the charge attack has infinite targets, obviously, and then you can hit a bunch of guys with the light attack. And I'm not a fan. I don't like the combo. This is also the same sword that Sienna has access to, which it's better for her anyway because she's not the melee powerhouse.
Right, she doesn't have as many other options. It's not to say that the one-handed weapon is bad. I mean, which is honestly a substantial difference. Before 1.5, about half of the weapons in the game were not even worth using, the one-handed sword included. Now, you know, I mean, you can be very effective with it, and it's fun to use. So, you know, big improvements there, but it's still just like from a cold logical standpoint, I can't see people using it too much on its own merits.
But the one-handed mace, even before the patch, it's still pretty good. I like it. It was always the mainstay of my Kruber because I use it with the blunderbuss for ultimate, for ultra bash all the time.
Yeah, I've always liked the aesthetic of the maces more, so I'm biased in that way. But yeah, it's odd because the one-handed mace in certain ways is just as good, if not better, of a crowd control weapon than the Mace and Shield.
Well, it's basically the hammer that Barton has. They share the same setting file.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the same amount of targets, same amount of damage. And for the record, all the one-handed weapons basically got buffed to do the 10 damage on the overhead swing like that, which kills Clan Rats on Kata in one hit.
Which is incredibly important for what it's worth, because Clan Rats on Kata are a little bit like the old 20 damage expert zombies on Left 4 Dead 2. You ignore the damn things up until you get to that high level, and then you never ignore them again.
I love the bonk. It's not you want to block cancel by the third swing because that's when you don't hit all the targets. But
all right, so now we're getting into Kruber's more traditional weapons.
Sword and board, analogous to the axe and shield, except you know it's not particularly as effective as the axe against storm vermin armor. But I mean, you're hitting more targets. This is definitely one of the more ultimate crowd control.
The damage was also buffed quite a bit for 1.5. Before, there was almost no reason to ever use the actual sword in the sword and board because the sword did so little damage. Now the light attack can hit 3 targets per swing with enough damage to kill Clan Rats in 2 hits.
And like you said, everybody uses the shield way more before the sword. I didn't actually check if that's true or not. But
oh yeah, no, you totally use it more in this video because you know you're doing what works.
Yeah, well, yeah, the shield. I mean, when you take the shield, you want the shield, not really the melee weapon, unless you're Barden and you're a dwarf because you have the axe. And the axe is as dwarf as he gets.
The axe is a single target one-hander on a multi-target shield bash, which is brilliant and incredible and very, very good. The sword isn't set up quite the same way, but it's about the axe's half-brother now. It does a substantial amount more damage than it used to.
Well, it does have a *2 headshot multiplier, and it hits 3 targets per swing, so, I mean, if you can somehow get the angles just right, it's okay. But it's a shield. Bash all day.
Yeah, you're still using this thing primarily for the shield and the control that gives you. And that is still true with the Mace and Shield.
Which is not worth using, period, if you ask me, because of how slow it is, and does not as much damage overall.
I have seen one or two people that have been very effective with the Mace and Shield simply because they've gotten used to how very slow it is. But I would end up rather using the tool that I don't have to compensate for.
The red one is another unique one, like Barton's Hammer and Shield, is that it has off balance, which means if you can coordinate well enough, or you have Kruber bot, then this is the best weapon for him, because all they do is block, and off balance makes enemies take ×3 damage.
Mm-hmm. The other reason that the Mace and Shield ends up being better for Kruber bot is because Kruber bot isn't affected nearly so much by the speed and the increased damage that you get out of the Mace and Shield, both on the charged and the primary attack, suits the bot very well.
The shields do the same amount of damage per charge.
Oh, the shields do the same amount of damage. Okay, it's just the primary then.
Yeah, but Mace is just the sword does 3 damage and then falls down to 2. The Mace will do 3 damage and then also falls down to 2.
It hits,
but the Mace hits everything because it has infinite targets now. And it has Killing Blow. Sword doesn't get Killing Blow like that.
Killing Blow is a big deal. I mean, it's a really big deal.
But now we have probably what everyone will use as Kruber, the two-handed sword.
This is Kruber's big style weapon. It oozes style, it oozes charisma, and I can't not love it.
This is the Honest Steel part about Honest Steel.
Damn straight.
But remember, since Saltspire also had it, this is not effective against armored targets.
Right. This is another weapon that Kruber does share with Saltspire. Kruber ends up having slightly faster animations and so forth, so he uses it a little bit better than Saltspire. But yeah, it's still effectively the weird hybrid between striking and crowd control that
it falls under this. The same file as two-handed swords, which Kruber and Saltspire. So the animations are not different.
Oh, they're not different at all. Okay,
it's the same file.
Must be me just having a placebo effect then.
I think back in the beta it felt slower, and then they sped it up again. That might be an issue here.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking. But if you want to play Kruber as a striker, this Zweihander is basically what you're going to want to bring.
Just make sure you play conservatively, and don't bring it on Kata until you get used to it.
Yeah.
You will die very quickly if you do not have a handle on these two-handed weapons.
After the strikes hit, there's a uncomfortably long moment where you're very vulnerable. And it's not difficult to compensate for it after you've played with it for a little bit. It's not like the Mace or the Mace and Shield where it's just forcing you to do things, but it will mess you up.
The trick to using the two-handed hammer properly is to not just use the hammer.
Yeah.
Kruber has a lot more style with it than Barden does by far. The same file again, the same stats, same everything. But Kruber's hammer has a little crown on it at the red one.
Get down there. Get down there, you little punk. The problem with the two-handed hammer ends up being that it just barely misses a number of important damage.
Yeah, you have to get used to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if the primary, for example, had just a little bit more damage, it would make a fantastic striking weapon. That you could switch to the charged attack.
I really think it should be able to. These hammers should be able to kill clan rats in one hit on Kata. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Because the mace can do it on the overhand swing, which is essentially emulating the big ol' light swing here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't see why it's not allowed to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because this weapon was actually my first love in the game because the swing is so meaty and it feels so good to watch rats flying everywhere.
Just like we said before, don't bring two-handed weapons to Cataclysm until you get a really good handle on them.
Yeah.
It's because we have so many new people playing the game now, thanks to the sales and the big patch hitting. people will definitely be wary of anybody who's new bringing two-handed weapons. The veterans will.
Once you're decent with it, though, you just basically bob and weave like you're frickin' Muhammad Ali, and all of these dudes are haters getting knocked the hell out.
And also bash with the blunderbuss.
Blunderbash, always good.